Right.
All right, we'll start it now. There we go.
I am LaToya Benton. Xavier killed my son. He was murdered by the state police on January the 9th, 2021.
Auburn. He was murdered by DC Metropolitan Police in their custody. He died in their custody, and they claim that they don't know what happened. They had no business arresting him.
This is Life After the Impact, a podcast for impacted families, by impacted families, that focuses on what happens after the media, the lawyers, and the activists are gone. Impacted families are left to face the loss of a loved one to police respond to violence. We will focus on their continued fight for justice and how you think they will believe.
Give me the one that just walks away. Bunch of police take another life today. Leaving loved ones torn that left to say. Candles burning, all we do is pray. Yeah.
Our beloved Danny, our firstborn son.
He's a kid who has just the biggest heart and a love for people.
The day he was born, my husband said he's going to be a football player.
From the time he was a little baby, Danny and I would.
I'm gonna start that again. 1 second.
Our beloved Danny, our firstborn son.
He's a kid who has just the biggest heart and a love for people.
The day he was born, my husband said he's going to be a football player.
From the time he was a little baby, Danny and I would play sports together. Danny wanted to be an athlete. I enjoyed watching him play and fulfill his dream. He could share with me the highs and lows.
He worked really hard because he felt like he could be better and stronger and faster.
He wanted to play in the National Football League. I miss not having the chance to see that.
The police were responding to a disturbance. Henry was in the car waiting with 2 other people in a fire lane.
Police say a car they ordered to stop instead accelerated and hit one of their officers, forcing both of them to grab their guns and open fire. Some witnesses give a different account.
Initially, the reports were that our son was trying to run people over. He wasn't following directions. And later on, once we got video footage, all of that turned out to not be true. In fact, our son was following an order that was given to him by a police officer. I'm so grateful for the other police officer that came forward and told the truth, because it did change the narrative and people were able to see that there was an injustice. He knew the importance of respect. He knew the importance of offering a hand. And that is something that we are so proud of even today.
What I wish people could experience is Danny at 30. Would he be retiring from the NFL? Would he be on an NFL sideline coaching? What would his children look like? What would they be doing?
Never in a million years would we have thought that this would have happened to us. And it continues to happen to so many other families. One of the most important things that we can do as a community is to have better communication, better love and respect for people. I don't want to assume that all police officers are bad. And I don't want people to assume that all young Black men are bad. I miss it tremendously.
Hi. I love you.
My son is everybody's son, their next door neighbor. We need to do more to create change.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Roxane Johnson. My son's name is Jamal Byrd, was murdered by DC Metropolitan Police, October the 1st, 2019. I have with me my co-host.
Good evening, everybody. My name is LaToya Benton. My son is Xavier Hill. He was murdered by Virginia State Police, January 9th, 2021, at the age of 18. Tonight, we have the honor and pleasure of being blessed with his daughter to speak with Mr. Wayne Dozier. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Good evening. My name is Wayne Dozier, grandfather of DJ Henry. DJ Henry was killed 13 years ago by Pleasantville Police in upstate New York. In the video you've seen there, that it was unnecessary taking of prints. They killed my grandson in a horrific way. He died handcuffed, face down on the concrete, without any assistance from the EMTs, the police, or even his friends were not allowed to go near him. So it was a horrible way for him to go, you know, and we are here with these mothers, and we also have to remember that there's a lot of fathers involved that have the same pain that that's not being addressed, you know, and I'm here in support of all the fathers, as well as the grandfathers, and as well as some of the brothers and the sisters and just the whole families. It doesn't just affect one generation when you have a loved one taken away so violently. It affects us all, and we miss him tremendously. And
Mr. Wayne, that is one reason why we asked you to come on to the podcast. We spoke with your daughter, and she did bless us to say it was okay to speak with you in regards to DJ Danny. We have been at this podcast, I think, since the beginning of January. We've been blessed to have great mothers, and even great professors as well, to bless us with the knowledge of what they have learned throughout the fight. And also to learn how they have been affected or impacted by the fight. But it is different from Mel's perspective. So we appreciate you coming on tonight. My husband, he's affected. We have so many dads and grandfathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, that are men who are affected, and they're like overlooked. No one sees what's going on from their perspective.
From their perspective, from our perspective, because it could have been us. It could have been us.
Yeah.
It could have been us, because it just doesn't matter sometimes, it seems, from Kenneth Chamberlain, 68 years old, to Danny, 20 years old. It affects us all. And we want everybody to understand that, like you said, this is something everybody needs to be involved in. Everybody has to put a shoulder to this thing and push this thing over the goal, so we can affect change. Because it's been going on way too long.
That's right.
Way too long.
That's right. That's right.
We need to.
Yeah, and it's like a modern day form of lynching, which happens, at state sponsored. And
state sponsored, right.
And I heard you say Pleasantville Police. Well, that didn't sound like a very pleasant.
Wasn't very pleasant. Mount Pleasant or Pleasantville wasn't very pleasant for us.
Yeah.
And the word is about that they traded the hoods and capes for blue uniforms. So we're not
Mr.
saying.
Wayne,
Go ahead.
Tell us just real briefly what happened with DJ. We saw the clip, but I want to hear from you what happened with DJ 10 years ago. Well, 10 or 13 years ago. Do I have my numbers off? 13 years.
13, yeah, 13.
13 years, okay.
He would be 33 this year, October coming. And but what had happened, and Danny and his best friend, that was Eves, but they grew up together in Easton, and Danny went to Pace University, and the opposing school from Easton played up there in New York. So there was a family outing. I can't call the name of the school in Easton right now, but they were friends for years. They actually battled on the other side of the teams. Anyway, the two families went up to New York for the game. They had a beautiful game. Pace lost. They went out to eat. You know, the parents, you know, said goodbye to Danny and whoever, all the teammates, and his buddy from Easton. I guess he went back with his family, and they went out to Finnegan's Bar to have a little good time, as college kids do. And they went in there, and to cut it short, there was an altercation or a fight going on inside the Finnegan's Bar. Danny, being the designated driver and not really into drinking that much at that time, he had to go ahead and get the car, get ready to go. So he leaves the bar, goes into the vehicle with two other buddies of his, Eves and I think of his name, but went into the car and was sitting there, probably listening to music on the radio, waiting for everybody else to come out. And Ronald Beckley, the first police officer, came up to him and said, "Hey, you're in a fire lane. You're gonna have to move." So at that time, started up his car. I'm sorry, his car was already running. And then he just put it in gear and started to drive off. And at that point, Aaron Hess, the perpetrator, the murderer, walked in front of DJ's car and immediately jumped on the hood and started firing into the vehicle, mortally wounding Danny and shooting his buddy in the shoulder on the passenger side. And I understand bullets went on either side of the person in the back seat. So there were bullet holes on both sides of him, but he wasn't shot. And so it must have been at least 6 shots were fired in there. And it just a ridiculous situation for him to even do that. No matter how many times I put my head around it, I can't understand why would someone do that, jump into a vehicle, a path, and just started firing. So that's what he did. Danny, after being shot, for what I understand, the car rolled into another parked vehicle, and there was a minor crash. At that time, Danny was pulled out of the car, handcuffed, placed face down on the concrete. Everybody else who pulled out the car, handcuffed, and pulled to the side. And at that time, the crowd came out. They seen what's going on. A little bit of a melee happened. Windows were busted because cops were pushing. A lot of football players were there, and they were trying to get to Danny. And from the videos I've seen, and I had to go up to the Pace University and get Danny's personal belongings out of his dorm a couple of days later. And so I went to the Finnegans, and I saw the busted windows. I saw the scene, and it was very, very, very emotional for me to be so much involved in that. Yeah. So, but the thing to see, to hear that Danny bled out on the concrete, as I just said, handcuffed and face down, is very tragic. Very inhumane. And if you see the video, you see the young woman in the white dress that's trying to apply CPR. He's already probably had gone on since before then. But none of the professionals, quote unquote, did anything to assist him. No police officers, no EMTs, nobody tried to help my grandson.
And even after all that happened, what happened with the officers?
Well, this is the eerie part, Aaron Hess, they had the grand jury, and he was found not guilty of any charges. Matter of fact, prior to that, they had painted a picture that Danny was drunk, Danny was speeding excessively, that Danny was, they took his cell phone and got all the information out of his cell phone, trying to see if they could find anything on him, if he was doing anything, He might have had a false ID because he was only 20 at the time, and they think he'd be 21 to get into the bar. I think that's the only thing they found on him, quote unquote, to be out of the norm. But Aaron Hess was found not guilty of any charges. The other officer, Ronald Beckley, the guy that came forth and said, no, that's not how it happened. That's not how it happened. I told him to try get out the fire lane, and this other guy, I don't know who he was. I saw him jump on the hood and started firing in the car. So I started firing at him. He started firing at at Aaron Hess because he didn't know who this guy in silhouette shooting in the car. Come to find out it's another police officer. And so he lost his pension for telling the truth. He lost his status as a police officer for telling the truth because he crossed that blue line. You know, that's supposed to be that unspoken thing. And we, as part of the DJ Henry team, are fighting to get his pension back and get him rightfully, you know, because he did the right thing. And it's impossible for us not to acknowledge the fact that he did the right thing, and it cost him his pension, and it cost his family a lot of struggle financially, and I'm sure emotionally, you know. And some of the mail that we received after Danny's murder was like so negative. Like he was, like I said, they had painted such an ugly picture about him, that he was that he was a drunk, and he was a punk, he was doing this, that, and the third, and none of that came out to be true. But no one came back and apologized. Well, they did apologize years later, but no one tried to rectify the situation until we had to fight for it. If we said, okay, we're going to go with that. But Danny leading the forefront, and I must, you know, he showed me how his plan of action. We're going to pray for the press, the politicians. He had about a circle that we had to concentrate on. Community leaders, the community, the press, the politicians, the courts, all those were issues that we had to address. If you can't do it physically, then do it spiritually. If you can't do, then make the phone calls, put the letters in. And that's the concentrated effort that was needed to go from being a victim to be a victor. And
So
that
real fast, you guys, I want to go and throw up on the screen. So if you don't mind, I want to kind of forward to 13 years later, as you were saying, from being a victim to a victor. 13 years later, your family was able to have a district attorney look into the case again. Let's go and play that clip.
Yes, okay.
New York State District Attorney is going to review the police-involved shooting that led to the death of a Black man from Massachusetts more than 10 years ago. DJ shot and killed by a white police officer back in 2010. NBC 10's Mike Manzoni has reaction from Henry's family.
The pain of their loss has not gone away over the past 10 years.
The former police officer who shot and killed DJ Henry never faced any charges, but after a New York State prosecutor announced Thursday that she plans to review the case, his parents now have hope.
It's an everyday battle, knowing that our son, died on the streets.
Henry, who was from Easton, was just 20 years old when a white police officer shot and killed him outside a Pleasantville, New York bar in 2010. That officer claimed Henry tried to run him over, but evidence raised serious questions about that claim. A grand jury eventually cleared the officer. Henry's parents ended up receiving a settlement and an apology from the town, but they've always wanted to see the now former officer face criminal charges.
It should have happened earlier in any case where someone's life is taken and the circumstances are questionable.
The district attorney also announced she's reviewing another case in which police shot and killed a mentally ill man in 2011. A team of special prosecutors headed by a former federal judge will look into both cases. But why all these years later?
Some may ask, why look backwards? And the reason is simple. Today, we have appropriately higher expectations for scrutiny of police encounters with mentally ill and unarmed people.
And Henry's sister, Amber, also sent us a statement about this announcement. She says, in part, anniversaries, birthdays, holidays, and countless other things have been ruined because of Aaron Hess's actions. He's the police officer at the center of all this. Ideally, we would like to see him convicted, and we know we will get there. Days like this are bittersweet, but there was no greater pain than the day we lost my brother. We'll continue to stay on top of these developments and bring you any new information in this case as soon as we have it. For now, we're in Easton. Mike Manzoni, NBC 10 Boston.
Wow, wow. So justice delayed is definitely not justice denied, Mr. Dozier.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about how you were able, because I know they just didn't do it out the kindness of their heart.
No.
What steps did you do to get the district attorney to review your grandson's case?
It was done mainly just by persistence. You need to go, we had to talk to politicians, talk to people in power, talk to people that would listen. And the main thing was to keep Danny's face in the forefront. We talked to the politicians, we talked to the representatives, you talked to senators, let them see the case, let them see Danny as who he is, a human being.
Yes.
Somebody's child.
Yes.
Somebody's child. And we let to see the every step of the way that we proceeded. Some said, okay, you know, I wouldn't do it like that. I'd get angry and do that. But we are angry. But we have to go do it strategically. We went to we had marches. We went to Westchester County. I've been there numerous times on marches and protests and church meetings. But at the same time, Danny and Angela and the attorneys were going to the courthouse. We were petitioning, we mailed letters out, we mailed emails out, but they were going to the courthouse. And again, it's very difficult for the parent. As I know, you know, LaToya and Roxane, how it is when you go to the setting in the courtroom and the first thing they ask you is, well, tell us what happened. And you have to renew that trauma all over again. So you can imagine that 30 times, you know, tell us what happened. Well, they show the picture. Well, they do this and they say, you know, so that beats down your resolve, that beats down your resistance to want to fight. But you can't. We have to push forward. So even during, you leave out of there with tears in your eyes, your heart is broken. You know, you've been to the court and you know, even with LaToya, you're just sitting up there 2 weeks ago with you.
Yeah.
It brings back so many heartbreaking memories that I'm back in the fight again because like I say, I just turned 70 years old and I'm looking for some younger folks, you know, because I'm a little bit down the road to help me carry the stick.
270.
I just turned 70.
No way.
I got a 33-year-old grandson. What do you think? So, yeah, it breaks my heart to see you go through this, to see Roxane go through this, to see so many loved ones and some people of our community go through this. So I'm looking at again, we go back to the resistance that, you know, no matter what, we got to clear his name. No matter what, you got to get justice for Xavier. No matter what, you got to get justice for your son. So it's going to beat you down, girl, but it's going to beat you down. But you got to stand up and fight again. You got to get down. We got to be, and that's the resolve that got it to this meeting with Maureen Rocker, the Westchester DA, that's going to come in there and look at the case. And she's looking at the case through the eyes of the parents, look at the case through the eyes of the community, look at the case that's been in the forefront for 13 years and say, well, what happened? Where did we drop the ball as supposed to be defenders of the community?
So did you guys need any kind of like new evidence for them to look at it? Like what made her say, okay, hey, with this evidence we have here, we're gonna still go ahead and look at the case again?
Right. Well, there was things that would even we had to go back and look at the speed of the vehicle. He said he charged it, that Danny tried to run him over. You look at the video, you see that Danny's driving, his brake lights are on. So how could he, you know, how could he be
Right, how you speed and braking at the same time?
You know,
Yeah,
and then you know, as far as the reconstruction of the actual shooting, you know, all that showed, you know, just a direct vicious attack. The accident, they tried to say he tried to hit him with the car, you know, there were so many different, and then the injury, I don't know if the injury was at the count of him being shot by the Mr. Beckley, or he got hurt with the car. We don't know. But, you know, and then the toxicology report saying that he was 1.3 in alcohol, that proved to be a lie. You know, and they did the autopsy without the family's permission. So many things that happened, you know. So we had to, you know, discount every step of the way. Every 64 pieces on the chessboard had to be covered. You said you did this, okay, to show us that you did. Just show us that you did that. Show us that you did that. You said he did this, show us that he did that. You know, and the main thing, LaToya, is the search for the truth.
That's right.
Search for the truth. Okay.
That's right.
And you got to do it sometimes without emotion or sometimes with tears running down your eyes. But show me where Xavier did what you said he did. Show me. And I can accept that. But if you can't show me that,
but we're not rocking with that. Yeah.
We gotta fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta fight. You can't do that.
We can't always believe when people tell us that people say they do those things, right?
Right.
They say that.
Because they say it, that's been the norm for so long but now we got evidence and cameras, you know, but now you have to show me.
You gotta show me.
So Mr. Dozier, can you kind of clarify for us what is your family's ask for the district attorney? Are you asking them to bring charges against these officers?
Yes, we want him in jail. We want him in court. We want him we want the whole story out. How can he claim what he did to be justifiable? That's all.
So once a grand jury, and because I'm not a lawyer, right? Once a grand jury chooses not to indict someone, can they be indicted again or different?
I'm not an attorney either, but they're saying we're trying to get him up on charges.
Okay, that's
what you say you were cleared, but I think it's based on new evidence. That clicks it over. Based on new evidence. You know, we bringing you back here because you saying this happened, but we saw this happen. You know, we got a report saying that no, he was traveling at 13 miles an hour. You saying he was trying to run you over.
Right.
You know, Mr. Beckley said he shot at you because Mr. Beckley's testimony was not allowed in the grand jury.
Oh, wow. And it sounds like, you know, from what we have been understanding about police training is they're trained to de-escalate situations. And it sounds like this officer who jumped on the hood of the car actually escalated a crisis that he manufactured a crisis that he then
he created.
He created the event.
There's a case here. I can't think of the exact case. There's a case here recently where the officer got into the back of the vehicle and the guy wound up driving off and the officer shot the guy. And the officer is sitting in the back of this guy's car. It's like, why are you creating a higher event? You know what I'm saying? And the guy was asleep in the car. This happened a couple of days ago.
He was asleep in the car.
He was asleep in the car. And they wound up getting in the back of this guy's vehicle. They cut the window out. They got in the back of this guy's car. And the guy wound up driving off. And the officer on his body cam, he's like, let me out, man, let me out. I'll send you guys the article, but he wound up shooting the guy when the guy was driving off.
So Mr. Dozier, as you know, this podcast is about ACTION.
About that action.
Action. And so what we tell people every week is that everybody can do something, that you don't have to sit home and feel helpless and hopeless. And so the ask for your grandson is to call the district attorney.
Yes, call
Marion
Roca at the Westchester County District Attorney, and just say what's going on with my brother's case, what's going on with my nephew's case, what's going on with DJ Henry's case, why is Aaron Hess in jail?
Right. And demand that they bring charges against that police officer.
That's right.
Of DJ Henry. Demand.
We have to demand. We have to demand.
Our right as citizens, we learned that we have some rights as citizens. The 14th Amendment gives us the right to.
14th Amendment gives us the right to.
Yeah.
That's right.
But to protest and we can stand up on that.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's what's up. And so those who are hearing this podcast, whether you're hearing it live this evening or you hear it later on this week, give the district attorney a call, number 914-995-3414. You can call her tonight. You can leave her a message so that when she gets there first thing in the morning before she have her coffee, she got 11 calls from DJ's cousins now, right?
That's right. That's right.
So that we
You
got
guys keep in mind, the ones who are listening to, as Roxane is saying too, we don't put the call to action up there just for y'all to look at it and say, oh, it's nice looking. It is imperative for us to be doing the work. That's the main thing. Don't make just one call, make continuous calls to keep applying that pressure. These people are elected officials. They're getting paid to do this job. So ask them what is going on with the case, but don't ask us one time. Ask, tag a friend, and then share the information so we can keep, like Mr. Dozier said, it's about being persistent. Being persistent and consistent is a thing, it's a real thing to get change.
Right.
Yes, and this is our motto about consistency and being persistent. Just as the sun rises every morning, we're going to be as consistent and persistent as the sun.
Yes.
That's our goal, right?
That's
to be
right.
persistent and consistent until justice is done. We will
Till
not
justice is
step back, but not one step backward. We'll keep moving forward until justice is done for all our children. Tonight, we're talking about DJ Henry, and we're talking to his grandfather about this case, this case of injustice, y'all. This is a case of injustice, and they need to make this right by not just indicting this officer, but convicting him of murder.
Yes, convict him of murder.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just being involved in this situation here, we are turning the tide of justice ever so slowly. The wheel of justice is turning ever so slowly. In the cases of DJ Henry, Xavier, your son, what's your son's name? I'm sorry. Malbrook.
Jamal Bird.
Jamal. You know, George Floyd. All these are turning the wheels of justice, and we have to get the identity of racism out of the police. We have to get the identity of the racist cop out of the police force. There's gotta be a significant move that racist guy is no longer there, and justice is set upon what the blind lady, the lady with the blind thing on her eyes is supposed to be. You know, and this is what we're pushing on. So
When that
becomes
until that becomes a reality, we're gonna keep pushing.
We're gonna keep pushing. ACTION.
That's right. And we're not gonna shut up, and we're not gonna let up.
Thank you.
We'll keep on coming. We're
Apply
gonna
that pressure.
and we're gonna apply that pressure, and we're gonna bust the justice system, this injustice system, and we get justice for each and every one of our children.
Each and every one of our children.
Each and every one.
Amen.
Amen. Ashe and amen. And so
That's
we
right.
thank you once again for coming on and speaking with us, Mr. Dozier. Please give your family our love, that we are thinking of them, and as any other things that we can do as this action, you know, as the review becomes a actual case, let us know.
Reality, yes.
Yeah, because we're claiming it, so we're
claiming it. We're claiming victory.
Right.
For Jamal, Xavier, and all the others, but right now we are standing in unity.
That's right.
All our loved ones, and I'm so thankful to meet with you guys and to sit this and just break this kind of bread with you. And it's so important that we keep the forefront of our family members who got taken away from us in the front. We have to push forward. And I thank you, Ms. Roxane, for how you do it. Your strength is there.
Thank you.
And you guys, just closing ending real fast. You see the call actions on the screen one more time to call tomorrow. Put it in your calendar to call first thing in the morning. In regards to DJ Henry, we will post up other calls actions as well. And it's going to be on the Facebook page. Don't forget, Life After the Impact can also be found on all major podcast platforms. So if you can't listen to us here tonight, you can listen to in the car tomorrow morning while you're going to work. And you can also share the link. We're on Amazon, Apple, anyway, listen to podcasts that we are there. So be sure to listen tomorrow morning to call in about DJ's case as well as other calls action. Be sure to make sure you're doing the work as also sharing information, you guys.
Right. Okay, I also want to ask also everybody that's listening to donate to these various families. Donate. If you can't send a card, send some money.
Yeah.
Send some money, because we all could use the money, because a lot of us is fighting this thing, and we need finances, and finances come with bodies. So we asking you to come on, donate to Roxane Johnson's case, to DJ Henry's case, to Xavier's case. You know, LaToya, you have information that they can you can give out that people might can come in to donate?
Yeah, we'll put it on. What we'll do is this: after we get off the call, we'll have everything online, you guys. And the link will be on the pages as well. We have up there like every week. We're gonna start putting on there once a week as far as this call of action. There's ways you can also support the families as well. That's a good point, Mr. Wayne. We should put up there every week, you know, how you can donate as well. That's a very good point.
Right. Okay, I know this is my first time on the podcast, so I hope I didn't step on anybody's toes by putting my voice off for donations, but
never that. And listen, this is our podcast. It's called Stories from Families. This is our podcast.
Yeah,
I love you for this. I really do.
There's no I, there's we.
I tell you, y'all.
This is we.
This is we. You know, y'all give me some more motivation, because like I say, I'm a little bit down the road, and I'm looking for some other young folks to step up that we can pass the baton to, because this is a generational fight.
Yeah.
Generational fight.
Yes, it is.
And we have to always have to be involved in this. We all have to be involved. So if you can't give $1, come to the meetings, listen to the podcast, you know.
Share the flyers.
Voice. Yes, share the flyer. Just make it known that you care, that you care. Thank you.
All right. Until next time, people, my good people, good night from Life After Impact.
Good
night.
Good night.
Good night.
LaToya Benton. Xavier killed my son. He was murdered by the police on January the 9th, 2021.
Jamal Byrd, he was murdered by DC Metropolitan Police. He died in their custody, and they claim that they don't know what happened. They had no business arresting him.
This is Life After the Impact, a podcast for impacted families by impacted families that focuses on what happens after the media, the lawyers, and the activists are gone. Impacted families are left to face the loss of a loved one to police sponsored violence. We will focus on their continued fight for justice and how you think they're going.
Give me the one that just walks away. Watch the police take another life today. Leaving loved ones torn that I left to say. Candles burning, all we do is pray. Yeah.